When you put your faith into something, is it because you believe in it, or was told to? Religion is based upon believing in something beyond yourself, placing oneself as a patron of what it exclaims to be their truth. It doesn't mean it can be everyone's truth, but it's interesting nonetheless. Heretic presents this engaging thought process through the act of questioning the concept of belief through choices, conversations, and apparent miracles. What would you say would define a miracle? If it was said and shown, would you then believe in it? Or would your instincts tell you otherwise? This is 2 takes, and this is 1 shot, an analysis of the film Heretic. Please note, these are theories based primarily from the film and not on any religious practice. Usually you would find the characters pleading or swearing at the villain. However, in this slow burn, both women and even Reed himself have some solstice in actually being polite to each other throughout. But there is a layer of decency with politeness, as seen in other films, such as 2011's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, with Blomqvist chooses to go into Martin Vanger's elaborate modernist house, even though there was something off.
Shh, let me ask you something. Why don't people trust their instincts? They sense something is wrong, someone is walking too close behind them. You knew something was wrong. But you came back into the house. Did I force you? Did I drag you in? No. All I had to do was offer you a drink. It's hard to believe that fear of offending him is stronger than the fear of pain, but you know what? It is. And they always come willingly.
It's almost the same here, with every person on the street choosing to not engage on the principle that this is the easiest course, as not to offend. And with what happens next, all Reed had to do was lie about his wife and ask if they like pie. And then they are hooked, with good intentions, being politely non-judgmental in the room they enter, letting the strange but interesting questions and comments lead them into a conversation that becomes more sinister. Did he force them to enter? Threaten their lives? No, not at that moment. And also, like in the film Perfume, the story of a murderer, there is the element of cognitive dissonance, wherein John Baptiste is found to have murdered women to create the ultimate perfume. However, the smell he produces and uses overstimulates the brains of everyone there for his execution into thinking he is innocent, even the father of one of the deceased girls. This has the same effect of the blueberry pie candle and the promise of Reed's wife simply being shy. They have faith in him telling the truth, even though in the pit of their stomach, with all other evidence, points to deviancy. And it's fascinating to watch how the moment Barnes realizes the smell of a pie is in fact a candle, the hope starts to leave her. Like the blueberry pie was a metaphorical promise to something good at the end of their hard work, much like most religions speak of heaven at the end of their lives. A promise on faith, which in Heretic is a prominent theme, with them finding theological debate being more than just words. At the beginning, it was a common of all religions that boiled down to Reed targeting the main 3 monolithic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islamic practices. Reed has concluded that they are different versions of the same thing, using contemporary music and board games as an example of iterations that start to dilute and diminish themselves. He claims that all religions, including the Big 3, are all borrowed narratives from the earliest known ones, which included such elements as crucifixion, resurrection, and the 12 disciples. And here he explains how 1 is the original, Judaism, and 2 being the more popular, Christianity, then Islam, because of the amount of people who have turned it to that faith. And when he questions why the original is left in the dust, whilst ignorantly ignoring historic events like the Holocaust that left a massive hole throughout the community. He says religions are iterations of each other. He says the one true religion is control. The irony lies with what Reed happens to be at the end of the dark basements. When Paxton has to go through the rooms of religions like Dante's 9 circles of hell, getting deeper and deeper into the belly of the beast, we find Reed at the end of it, giving women in cages water with a watering can that we first saw him with at the very beginning. Reed has placed himself as the creator of this one true religion among his disciples trapped in their cages of beliefs. He has made himself a god by skipping over facts and figures and the human condition, pursuing this control by making him believe whatever he wants them to believe. He has ironically made another iteration, summoning this control to serve for his own purpose, but the strangeness, at least for me, still continues. What would Reed do with this information? It seems there has to be a willingness of these women that obliterate their own self-worth to this aspect of complete control, of ignorance and obedience. Perhaps there is freedom in the lack of anything for someone else to make all the decisions and control you? Pure speculations, but I would love your input. And it is here, for me at least, that this loaded monologue of his thesis of iterations has tipped the scales into a deeper unspoken conflict. Reed has a twisted view on religion, claiming to research over thousands of them, and has gotten to this conclusion that control is the one true religion. Why? Stephen Brown on churchtimes.co.uk puts it perfectly. All the while indicating that words are likely to save them for what will transpire, their captor resumes another tack, that of revelation. How can sinful humanity accurately hear God's voice? Don't we, like Joseph Smith, who amended the Latter-day Saints' practice of polygamy after divine commands to suit our own purpose? Do we just believe because others have shaped our outlook? Reed has inherently concluded that if someone would say something is true with enough conviction, then people can believe it. And surely if this is the case, then it could be placed in something as large, as prominent as a religion. But being a non-believer himself, how can Reed understand the implications of what faith can do for someone? Again, Reed is ignorant of the James Fowler's research stages of religious belief, where throughout a person's life, it comes into form through others, forming opinions of facts and stories, realizing their abstract moral worth, questioning it, then owning it, understanding not all questions can be answered. A belief in the faith of that religion to be the right one for you and to build it with the community around you. And whilst Reed researches this all as someone on the outside, someone with the absence of faith, it's at the very end, when Paxton talks about the prayer experiment and how it didn't work, but its worth in bringing people together and it was a nice thing to do, shows that it's not all about control. Another example would be his prophets, later to be women in cages, are not entirely controlled by him either. When given the script, the woman deviated from the words given, proving that even small acts of rebellion can exist, even in the most dystopian of places, much like The Handmaid's Tale. Those who follow a path are not always blind to it, are not always harnessed by it, but they shape it into what they believe that fits for them in religion. As well as the prayer experiment and overlooking its worthlessness, there is still belief in things that are unknown, such as what happens after we die. Paxton talks about how she wants to come back as a butterfly that lands on the hands of the people she loves. There are an abundance of references reflecting this, especially when Paxton gets out, where the butterfly can be seen at some moments and not in others. It can be assumed by many that the butterfly is a hallucination. However, its meaning can be more. It could be Barnes' soul coming to her, or even part of Paxton's soul, like her innocence leaving her. But we all know that is more than that. There is talk about near-death experiences, imagery that our brains show to comfort us and help us come to terms with death. Paxton, in this theory, is dying, and the belief of this wish has materialized right in front of her. However, this comfort before death, these hallucinations can go further. There is a theory that Paxton hallucinated Barnes coming back to life to kill Reed, as well as the escape and the butterfly. By then, she was already dead. There is also the foreboding moth that Barnes sees in the window of Reed's house that eventually flies up towards the light. The moth could be seen as foreboding of Barnes' death and her going up to heaven, or even the death of both girls in the end, and thus Reed has killed the messengers of God. Either way, the entrapment of both girls in Reed's house is presented by the moth and the freedom of their escape in the butterfly. Whatever kind of escape that is, it's their faith that they did, even if it costs their lives. There have been many before Barnes and Paxton when it comes to Reed's tests, the belief and disbelief doors being one, a physical metaphor of the conclusion he wanted when he observes both girls. One wishes to be true to herself and the other trying to abide by what he might want, they both eventually go through the same door. However, even though we realise both doors go down to the same place, the same conclusion, we forget to understand that this was a controlled environment and thus only really proves Reed's point further. there wasn't really a choice to begin with. There is intent in Reed's actions, like with the bike key, with the switching of bodies to show a prophet coming back to life. It's a sense of hoping to unlock something in the girls through a controlled environment, through monologues of iteration and belief, checking to see if there are any cracks. Like the strange and quick scene of the simulation theory, another thought experiment he revelled in explaining to Paxton without Barnes's interruptions, is the theory that, like the Matrix, has created a new concept of us living a lie all along, that what our senses are experiencing is not real, and the only way to get out, in this film, is to kill oneself. A quick scene to see where Paxton's breaking point is, because he wanted a challenge, and this is where Paxton got brave and brought all the clues together. There have been arguments online about her sudden sleuth-like abilities, but OK_Nick on Reddit exclaims, "I don't know, I could honestly see her being smart originally. The deep history she knows of her own religion, which she word vomits whenever she nervously does a speech to convert others. Her perceptiveness was there. She was just inherently also kind and chooses to think nicely of others first. Examples, the girls in the street, which she claims she already loves them before they embarrassed her. These things she notices and sees, she doesn't originally see them in a negative way, not until she goes through the ordeal that she does. While she's also smart, she also lets Barnes take the lead a lot, and trusts Barnes enough to follow through with her plans and decisions. Keep in mind, she notices the curtains and the human silhouette behind them. She also notices the knife-pointy thing she used to stab Reed first, before Barnes, and she notices the body's head facing a different direction. It's not a far reach. The moments of observation from Paxton were there all along. Just because she didn't show it beforehand in conversation didn't mean it wasn't there to begin with. This might be because, even in stressful and controlled environments, Paxton was already been tested from day one. If we can recall, Paxton stated she was brought up in her faith, whilst Barnes was not. Therefore, it can be assumed that Paxton's faith has always been tested through non-believers and perhaps even people in her church. The understanding is that Paxton has an inkling on what to do, what to look out for to accommodate and to even de-escalate the situation. Barnes has not gotten this skill, and so we see her debate with him. Her stubbornness and her willingness to take action rather than debate or converse unfortunately leads to her demise. They both challenged him in different ways, which I found thoroughly thought-provoking. Someone whose beliefs and actions are considered wrong by most people because they disagree with beliefs that are generally accepted. Some would say that's a rebellious spirit. Others will mark it as a heretic, a nonconformist that researches thousands of religions to try and find something that gives them solace, but instead just open more holes. Through the lack of understanding, through histories of facts and figures, Reed has boiled down religions, faith and beliefs, of doctrines and lines of sacred texts, down to one thing: control. But can this be all there is? As a non-believer, how can Reed truly understand the implications of what faith truly can mean? Belief in something beyond oneself, which is the opposite of what Reed has discovered in his singular pursuit of whom is lying and whom is telling the truth. And even though he tests them based on how much they can believe his word, his actions, his ways of thinking, he doesn't account for their faith in the divine, their faith in themselves, and their truth in what they want to believe. It's not control. It's always done willingly. They willingly want to believe and have the faith to follow through with it. What are your thoughts on what was discussed in this episode? Comment and let me know to open up a conversation. Like and subscribe for more content of this nature, and come talk to me on Twitter or Instagram. Better yet, support the show on my Patreon to help a creator such as myself with learning on the go. Each like, each comment, each subscriber fuels the motivation I need to make better and better content for yours truly. Come say hi, and thanks for watching.